Hey, Crypterium community. Andrey, Chief Commercial Officer with Crypterium, in charge of Crypterium B2B program, is here. And I'm happy to greet and announce that we are joined by Billy Adams, none other than the head of ecosystem development for XDC Network. And by the way, executive director of XDC Foundation as well. And let me remind our community that XDC, which is a native token of XDC Network, is our recent most addition to listings and the recent most launched B2B partner of ours. Through that integration, we've enabled easy fiat on-ramp and off-ramp, and a native integration with all of our crypto cards, one in Europe right now, and all of the future ones that are in the pipeline right now. So with all that, having said all that, let me introduce Billy Adams. Billy, thanks a bunch for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Andrey, for having me here.
Well, Billy, we always like to keep it more personal. So I'd like to start with a little bit of a personal background on you. So how come you, Billy Adams, gotten to know crypto, bought your first Bitcoin? I don't know, probably mined it back in the day. So give us a little bit of a personal overview here. How come you're in crypto?
Sure. Yeah, well, I guess, you know, I have actually never mined Bitcoin. You know, that's, you know, I guess the real technical guys out there are, you know, the ones who would really be doing that. I'm really a community, you know, development focus, you know, I guess community member is really kind of how I started with crypto, just kind of looking into what Bitcoin was all about. I had known about and looked into Bitcoin, obviously, I think back in probably originally like 2014, and didn't really give it, to be honest, too much thought at that time. Found it a bit interesting, but really just kind of passed on it at that point. And then after 2017, when the market really went pretty crazy, that interests me. Most specifically, the drop in the market interests me. And so I decided at that point I would look into getting into it. And so I think it was probably sometime in January of 2018, I bought some Bitcoin. And then I actually found XinFin and XDC, because at the time in 2018, probably around April, May, and got involved with the community at that point, and just became very active in the community. And largely because my background really has been manufacturing and small business. So I've dealt with a lot of issues that small businesses deal with, working with local banks, capital markets, importing, exporting, all of that. And the products that were being put together by, at the time, you know, XinFin, you know, when they launched the network, because XinFin launched the network, and now the foundation really is supporting the XDC network moving forward as far as development goes. But back then, I got what they were doing. It would have meant a lot to me if I had these services when I was in business. And so I just got very involved and really haven't looked back. So it's pretty much how I got started.
Fantastic. Well, look, Billy, you were buying the dip before it became mainstream. So with you entering Bitcoin in those dreadful days of January 2018, fantastic. And regarding your personal history with the project, that's again, I really admire so much since you started in the community. So since we touched upon this, so the XDC network and its token XDC, give us like a brief introduction of what the project is all about, what the original idea behind it is, and how you guys just came about to be.
Sure. Well, yeah, as I had mentioned, XinFin, which is XinFin FinTech, is a private company out of Singapore that launched the network. The network was designed as a hybrid blockchain with both private and public states. And the reason for that was because the founders had looked at, you know, a fraud prevention in India, and were involved with specifically with a pretty major integration there. And we're looking at how blockchain could be built to support enterprise needs, which, really is about having most of the data private, where they can operate, without giving up any kind of trade secrets or information that really competitively wouldn't be good for them, but yet also have a way of having the immutability of a public blockchain. So private and public allow you to really keep the private and then transmit or relay a limited set of data to the public bridge, where that's then recorded. And so that was really initially the thought process around it. And a lot of that was really focused on infrastructure and filling the infrastructure gap across the globe, which is pretty significant, tens and tens of trillions of dollars. But I think as we've kind of gotten involved over time, one of the things that was done very, very well by the team prior to me being involved was really going out and listening to what needs were in the marketplace. And so a lot of that ended up focusing around what was happening in trade and being able to really, focus on buyers and sellers and financiers, and how to really create an ecosystem where they could come together and really transact more fluidly on blockchain. And blockchain offers you a lot of opportunities that you don't have offline, as far as not just only streamlining what's there, but being able to digitize and really transact on chain allows you to really show clear ownership of assets. And it breaks down a lot of barriers between trying to communicate with people across the globe, and it brings a lot of transparency to what wasn't before. So that had really become the focus, and that's really where I had seen what XinFin at the time was doing. And so I got very involved with them, and in time, in February of last year, I actually officially became head of ecosystem development for XinFin, and then we've launched since then the XDC Foundation, which is a nonprofit DAO, which we're developing within the community to really support the growth and development of the network moving forward. So that's kind of all of it in a nutshell. And we're also, I should say, so we're a fork of Go Ether. And so we're EVM compatible. We have smart contract capability. We're a layer one. We have tokens launching on chain within the ecosystem, and we also are not just enterprise focused, but we do have a lot of focus around retail moving forward as well.
Oh, good. So we covered it all. Fantastic. Well, since you're talking to a person who's in charge of B2B here at Crypterium, and obviously B2B is that special angle that we really want to educate our community on. Obviously, for me, the words enterprise level blockchain are just so many bells start going off, right? So many meanings. So what do you think is the most specific challenge that enterprise level blockchain enterprise such as yourself would face, and how do you maintain that balance between having the community, being community driven, and delivering that enterprise level blockchain product?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of challenges to, I think, what's going on in blockchain today, as much as that comes along with the developments that you do. And so a lot of what we're really looking at is how is it that you solve the problems as you move forward in a way that are really serving what enterprise clients are looking for. And so I'd say a couple things around how people look at the space first. As an example, I'll kind of like relate it from there first, which is, I always talk about this, or I talk about it quite a bit now with people, is that there's this sense that there's a lot of different chains that are out there, enterprise ready. There's a lot of ISO 20000, 22 focused chains that are doing a lot of work in that area. And a lot of people talk about how, all of these chains, everyone's going to be working together, and everyone's going to be doing this together and that together. And I think it's important to really emphasize that, really everybody is really working their own path, trying to get to where they're trying to get to, accomplishing what they can. And enterprise in itself is really challenging, because especially with banks themselves that have, they're very risk averse, and they're not they're never looking to be the first to do anything. They want systems that are proven out, and they're very protective also as to what their position is. And they're large organizations that have a lot of different groups of people within them that have different goals, and trying to align all of these organizations and think, oh, this is what it's going to be in a few years, is a very, very hard thing to nail down. And so really, when you start looking at it, we try to really develop this by finding businesses, enterprises that are looking to bring technology to the legacy systems that are out there, the legacy banks, like whatever is there, as far as the existing business, and looking at how we can really kind of bridge that gap. And so we really look to create an ecosystem for those institutions to come together. And Trade Tech, which is a partner of ours, doing trade finance, and we've done our first trade asset tokenization transaction in September. And that was actually taking a group of invoices from a number of different manufacturers and packaging them together and bringing an investor in and financing that on chain and turning it into an NFT. And that's really the first of its kind that's been done in blockchain. And now we're working at really scaling the volume of transactions and also the quantity of those transactions. So going from 0 to 0, 200,000 to 2 million to 20 million to 200 million, that's actually a very simple process. That's a simple problem to solve. That's really easy. It's getting to those first transactions which are really difficult, because there's not a lot of blockchain services that are really tied into each other across jurisdictions where it makes it easy. So you're constantly looking at, okay, how can I bring in a custodian from here? And, we need somebody to do KYC over there. And these are regulatory requirements over here. And, you really have to work at figuring out and solving those problems. And I think, there's a lot of people doing tremendous work to make that happen. And we're really excited about it. But I do think it's you got to walk before you can run. And that's really where crypto is right now, I think, just in general, or blockchain, and specifically in enterprise space.
Oh, yeah. So true. So true. Absolutely. And what you say, Billy, essentially XDC is checking so many boxes out there. And just a little plug for our community out there, I know all about what Billy's talking about, because we at Crypterium, working with some of those institutions, with some of the legacy banks, neo banks, we bring them our SDK B2B product, and we are engaged in those lengthy, very uphill battle kind of negotiations where you have to really explain it all, and you really have to work through their doubts, and no one is willing to be to take the first mover's advantage. They all want to move impact. They all want to see those proven models. So yeah, that speaks to me. Absolutely. And since we've touched on the challenges in enterprise space, and we've touched upon the topic of community and retail user base, Billy, share your thoughts on XDC's vision on how retail users out there, your community, how can they be engaged with your project? You mentioned DAO, which is fantastic, but I imagine there's so much more under the hood there.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a lot of points to touch on with that, I think. So I guess I would say, first off, with retail, on what we're really focused on is that, we have, there's a lot of development that's been going on since we actually, since I've come on board, and we've actually been building a team of people really kind of globally around what we're doing to support the network outside of the team that's already been there for XinFin. We've really been focused on developing the ecosystem in a way that supports enterprises to come online. And so that's exchange listings and doing a lot of work with market makers and integrations like what we're doing, with Crypterium, which are really important to us. And Crypterium is a good example of kind of like that movement for how we're working to really try to create more retail adoption. which is that, that you have the ability to buy and spend XDC, on a card, right? It's on a debit card and I think that that's really important for people in the next move forward with a lot of crypto, that you have the opportunity to do a number of different things. People want to stake and earn, maybe they want to borrow against, and then they also want to be able to spend if they have it to spend. And so, we're looking at those types of services as to how we can bring them on chain. And as the network itself, we're not necessarily looking to create or own those particular services. What we really do is support private businesses to come on, or other community contributors to come on and to actually take part in that ecosystem and really kind of build the model that allows people to be able to do that. And so when we partner with somebody like yourself, Andrey, it gives people the opportunity to really have that. Then there's the side of it where we have focused very much on development. So we have SDKs, which we've released 5 of them in the last month or so, that allows iOS or Android, Go or .NET, different SDK that make it that much easier for developers to develop online and connect to, our platform. We've upgraded. We have our own version of MetaMask, which is called XDC Pay, and that's one of the things that we've incorporated in as being, we've done a tremendous amount of work and just had done a new release of that. We also have a release of a new Explorer coming out that is really something that I think people are going to look at and see that there's a ton of features that people have always wished were involved, and maybe they thought about or didn't think about, but we've really kind of looked into it to say, okay, what could an Explorer really do? And we actually don't even think Explorer is really a great name either for what it is, because the whole idea behind what we're really trying to do is engage people in the ecosystem itself and allow projects to have the kind of traceability or trackability that they want. And so we're really excited about our new Explorer, which will be called something slightly different, and hopefully people will see the real benefits of it. And it's something that actually we've created so that other chains in need of the same type of services, it can actually be white labeled for them, and that's something, as far as a network goes, that we're going to be able to offer. So we really look at components and things that we can build that are beyond what's out there in the marketplace, how we can offer something better that meets more of the needs of what people are looking at. And so one of the major things we have really is a new NFT marketplace, which is going to be released in Q1, and that's a video format NFT marketplace, which I think is going to turn the NFT market in many cases kind of in a whole new direction, and create brand new opportunities for sponsors or brands, and also for content creators. And we're really excited about that. We're also working with there's a partnership that we have coming up that's going to really, I think, enable us to help bring it more mainstream. And we've created the technology, and technology is great, but we really need to have the way a pathway to adoption in this particular marketplace. And so we've been putting things in place in order to make it happen. I think something people are going to be pretty surprised about when they see it, and so we're really excited about that. And then we've identified probably about 20 to 30 other developments that we really are putting in place over the next say 12 to 24 months to really allow for, I'd say, real interoperability across multiple chains, and making it easier and easier to launch your token on chain, and or move it from another chain if that's what you want to do as far as a project goes. And so we're engaged with a lot of projects out there today that are really interested in launching on chain, and I think we've got about 4 currently that have launched in the last few months, and we're going to see a significant growth in that area, as we move forward into 2022. So it's a pretty exciting time overall, I think, not just for the enterprise side, but also for the retail.
Sure is, Billy. And yeah, one very exciting and easy way to engage with XDC and to get exposed to it is obviously head out to your Crypterium app, buy it with your card, buy it with your wire transfer, spend it on the go, spend it on the Crypterium card. And of course, as Billy has mentioned, the kind of arrangement that we reach here is, of course, the one that will take care of you being included in our collateralized loans programs that we've already gotten, right? We support collateralized loans for 2 or 3 cryptos now. We're going to be expanding that list, and we would be very much excited in bringing XDC into that line. And yeah, we'd be very excited in including our XDC into our earn product, and providing a yield generating account in XDC for that. We've got that product already, and we will be approaching XDC very soon to start substantive talks regarding that. So yeah, so a great start. Now, just since we've touched upon you and XDC providing that unique value for enterprises or businesses out there, you engaging your audience. When doing a research, I came across an interesting factoid, a data point that really caught my eye, and that is 75%. And unlike what people might think, 75% in case of XDC is their response to 51% attack threat. So, Billy, if you will, just explain a little bit more about that 75% of nodes, and how do you guys came to that idea? How do you realize that?
Yeah, so one of the things I think that's really critical when it comes to enterprise level blockchains, and this really goes for any blockchain because people are transacting on it, and it's obviously important that people can securely transact on it. But there are unique challenges, I think, or barriers to a lot of enterprises coming into blockchain wondering, well, how safe is it? And so one of the things that we really have worked to do is to try to create as safe an environment as possible. And I think that, everything that we work on in developing the network is to, how do we bring the security of the network up? And so one of the things that we had done early on was a decision. This was before I was, well before I was on board officially, which was, to raise the bar around what it would take as far as how many nodes as a percentage to really execute, what is termed as a 51% attack. Mm-hmm. And so that was something that, we had set the bar at 75% of those nodes. And so, with that, it's over, I should say it's an ever ongoing battle to really make sure that you're putting all of the things in place in order to really, make your network as secure as possible. So we've looked at a whole forensics model and what we call our XDPOS 2.0. It's a white paper that actually we released in the spring. It really kind of talks about how we can identify quickly and very effectively essentially slash or have consequences for any nodes that are actually operating to create really nefarious activity on chain before it actually causes a problem. And I think, with XDPOS, there's some unique challenges to it, different than mining. And, there's ways in which you need to ensure that, a node doesn't go in a direction where it's, starting to cause problems and communicating with other nodes and, taking them, away from, really what they're supposed to be doing, I think is maybe kind of a very simple or layman's term of looking at it. But but we've really looked at that. We've got a number of PhDs that we brought in who are blockchain scientists to really work on this. This is something that DM had worked through. I think from early on as far as a model, although not anything that's been put in place. But it's not a new idea, but it's something that we're really working to execute on. And I think it's really important in this environment to always look at trying to create a far more secure environment tomorrow than it was yesterday.
Sure.
So that's really the focus that we have on that.
Sure. Yeah, certainly focus on security is so critical for both enterprise players and community as well. And while we're again touching upon community, let me just, as usually, we're sourcing some of our questions from the members of the community out there. And one of those was asked by our member who asked about how does XDC relate to blockchain 4.0 and what's the future of the protocol and network in this regard? Where are you headed strategically?
Yeah, I guess that was a little bit of like maybe in our white paper we talked a little bit about like what the future of blockchain is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say that when it comes to some things like that, I think technically speaking, there's a lot of people who could probably speak to that like far greater than I can on the development level of what we're really trying to incorporate into that. But I think really for us, just kind of like an overall piece is you're always looking at kind of solving scalability and security and speed, right? And those are the things that you're really trying to ensure as you move forward that you really can accomplish. And I think that if you look at what Ethereum has built as an example, and really trying to go to their kind of Ethereum 2.0, and they're really trying to move towards staking and faster speeds. Sure. For transactions and finality, all of that, and we're already there. We're 2,000 plus transactions per second, and near instant finality and on the transactions, and we're trying, and we're really trying to look at all of the different ways in which we can have that trifecta kind of developing and growing at the same time, and increasing what we're doing through, possibly sharding or other things like that. And so those are things that have been in the works or discussed for, quite some time. And so that's how I think it relates to that. I mean, I think when people look at Web 3.0 and, looking at the metaverse and all of these things about what you can do in the future, and a lot of the stuff that we're building around that is also building towards ensuring compatibility with the with anything that's being built. I think moving forward, where there's opportunities to take advantage of that, and so it's and I don't know whether anybody knows really what that even looks like. That's the other thing too, right? I mean, people are buying like digital land, and some people think it's a great idea, and I think other people think I don't understand the value in that at all, and so it's just the way things develop. We want to be at the forefront of it, and that's really what our focus is.
Fantastic. Well, since we touched upon the future here, let's just take a sampling of what XDC as an organization, as a protocol, how does it seize the future? So from where you sit, what's the most exciting and important, or maybe it's either or, right? Maybe it's not the same thing, development in the crypto industry right now?
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I mean, there's probably a tremendous amount of really important developments that are going on out there. And I'm going to actually say, I mean, one of the things we actually really haven't touched on here is that, we're as far as a carbon footprint goes, we're very, very, very we're very efficient. We're many, many orders of magnitude more efficient, in the environmental impact than you see in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and a lot of other chains. And of course, there are a lot of chains which are similar to us, which are light on footprint. But I think really when it comes down to it, any idea that happens on a chain is a great idea, maybe a great idea, but we need to have a place that we can operate from safely, that that allows us to do that. And the impact of climate change on the planet is real. It's an existential threat, and it's right in front of us. And so I actually think the greatest thing that blockchain could do today is really solve the issues that we're bumping up against around the mitigation and remediation of the carbon that's in the air. So you got to slow it down and stop it, and you got to clean up what's there. And so our focus, a lot of our focus right now, as far as one of the things that we're doing, we haven't really talked a lot about it, although I have touched on it a little bit up to this point, is that we have a head of sustainability that we brought onto the foundation, and this is something that happens over the summer with a real focus on how is it that we can actually use what we're doing with enterprises on chain to help finance the initiatives that really need to be financed. And I think that that there's some people talk about it's like capitalism that got us into this issue, into this problem, and it's got to be capitalism that gets us out of it. And we're a $1 billion+ blockchain. We have the ability to finance and really help small businesses get the funding they need, or create a true asset that is carbon-based asset that could really make a difference as far as value within the system, that really drives the value. And I think it's a tradable asset, right? Because that's what we're doing with trade finance. And so if there was a tradable asset that was like profitable for people to be able to actually finance, within the system, not just necessarily a carbon credit, but maybe it's literally carbon, in itself in a certain form where you can actually do something with it. So I tend to think at like very high levels around this stuff, and probably have ideas around things. Some people might think, oh, those are pretty extreme around it. But, what I do is kind of like put that vision out there, and then we bring the people in and say, okay, here's how we really get to that point to do it. And so there's some really, really exciting things that we're doing in this space that I may actually say I'm most proud of what's going on there. And I think it's the most important thing we could possibly be doing, really, with anything, blockchain or not. And the rest of the stuff is great if we've got to plan it in order to do it. So so that's really, I think, to me, the most pressing and most important thing we can be doing.
Well, Billy, I really commend you on the audacity of that vision. I really appreciate that. That resonates with me on so many levels. And I'm really happy that an environmentally minded project, among other things, has now partnered up with us. Well, the capitalism has gotten us here. Maybe blockchain will get us out of this. Well, Billy, thank you very much. Thanks for sharing your vision, outlook of XDC network and its token. Really appreciate the time and consideration. Come drop by next time when we get more exciting developments, and certainly looking forward to a very productive work with you.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, thanks so much, Andrey. This was great. It was really enjoyable. Glad we had the chance to talk today. Thanks so much.
Likewise here. Take care.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.